In 2010, Eike Batista announced to the world that he'd become the world's richest man. And although it was quite a claim, it would have been silly to bet against him. Fast forward to 2020, Forbes announced Eike Batista as the 7th richest man in the world, with a net worth of $34.1 billion. However, just a year later, everything came tumbling down, and the world watched the biggest drop in net worth of any billionaire to date. Eike Batista, who is at the time or was the richest man in Brazil, has lost 99.6% of his fortune, all in just 16 months. But how did it happen? Was it down to decisions or luck? Or was it just a series of misfortune? Well, let's find out. Eike Batista was born on the 3rd of November in 1956 in Governador Valadares, Brazil. He was the second of his parents' 7 children. Born into an affluent family, Eike's father, Eike Batista, was also a businessman who served as a former Minister of Mines and Energy in the João Goulart and Fernando Collor administrations. On the other hand, Eike's German-born mother, Jutta Batista, was a homemaker tasked with the raising of the children. Shortly after Batista became a teenager, the whole family moved to Europe due to his father's line of work. During this period, the entire family lived in Germany, Brussels, Belgium, Switzerland, Geneva, and Dusseldorf. In 1974, Eike enrolled in the University of Aachen in Germany, where he studied metallurgical engineering. When he turned 18, the whole family moved back to Brazil, but Eike stayed in Europe, working as a door-to-door insurance policy salesman to make a living. According to Eike, the stress and lessons that he learned from his time working as a salesman in Europe would go a long way in turning him into the richest man in Brazil later on in his life. Eike dropped out of his school just before he could finish his degree in 1979 and returned back to his homeland in the early 80s to start up his own business. On getting to Brazil, Eike quickly turned his attention to the gold and diamond trades. His experience as a salesman proved to be useful as he was able to contact producers in the Amazon area and buyers in big cities throughout Europe and Brazil. At the age of 23, Eike decided to start his own gold trading company, which he named Outram Aurum. The company simply bought gold from its contacts or producers on the Amazon and sold them to consumers in Brazilian and European cities. Although it was nothing particularly special, the company ended up becoming hugely successful, with the company making $6 million in its first year of operation. The company continued to grow rapidly in the years that followed, but Eike wanted more. And that's when he had an idea that would change his status from a millionaire into a billionaire. Like many middlemen did during their career, Eike realized that he stood to make more money if he was a producer and not just a middleman. With his new information and idea, Eike returned his attention to creating a gold mining company. But building a gold mining company wasn't going to be a walk in the park. He needed more experience, more resources, and connections to do that. Despite realizing this, Eike went ahead and created the EBX Group, a gold mining company in 1980. His gold mining company became the first company to bring modern technology to alluvial gold mining in the Amazon. This move didn't just give him an advantage over other miners, but also instilled a level of trust in everyone who invested in his company. The quick expansion of his business soon began to attract interest from other countries. And by 1983, Eike merged with the Canadian company TVX and eventually became its CEO the following year. At the age of just 29, Eike had built the stage that he needed to showcase his extraordinary abilities to impress investors, exactly the kind of attention he liked to have to himself. As if being a billionaire under 30 wasn't enough to fill the spotlight, Eike married a Playboy cover model, developed an athletic career, and became a speedboat world champion. It really seemed like anything that this man touched turned to gold. Towards the late 90s, his EBX group, which included TVX among others, was operating in 8 gold mines in Brazil, 1 in Canada, as well as a silver mine in Chile. But despite making hundreds of millions of dollars from these companies, Eike was still a long way from his ambitions of becoming a billionaire and the richest man in Brazil. To achieve this, Eike began to expand his business over the next decade, creating company after company, such as the MPX, a thermal energy company created in 2001, MMS, a mining company created in 2005, and many more. He also invested in other logistics, shipbuilding, and real estate industries. Almost all of his companies and businesses had an IPO, and every IPO multiplied his fortune. By 2010, Eike had established a collection of corporations that all operated under the public under a holding called EBX Group. Like EBX, each of these corporations all had X in its name, which, according to Eike, symbolized the multiplication of wealth. And so it did. In 2007, Eike's net worth began to grow at an incredible pace. This was the same year that he embarked on perhaps his most ambitious project, OGX, an oil and gas company which he wasted no time in getting off the ground. That year, he spent about $1 billion on licenses to explore some potentially oil-rich areas off the Brazilian coast. By 2008, Eike had fulfilled his big dream of becoming a billionaire, and he was also added to Forbes' annual list of billionaires. He rose rapidly up the ranks, and by 2010, he climbed all the way to the 10 richest people in the world with a net worth of $27 billion. Eike wasted zero time showing his wealth to anyone that cared enough to see it. He bought mansions and hotels across the country. He added exquisite cars like Porsche, Lamborghini, and a Ferrari, as well as a Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren sports car to his fleet of cars. He also added dining with legendary pop icon Madonna in Rio to that list and reportedly handed her $7 million as a donation for her special projects. Eike's rise in stock, fame, and power, as well as his quest to become the richest man in the world, attracted a lot of attention from the media, who all had mixed opinions about him. Many young entrepreneurs adored him, but a lot of Brazilians questioned his integrity, and in the end, many of them were proved right. It had taken Eike Batista 30 years to reach the top of the world, but it only took 6 months for everything to come crashing down, and it all began with an accident. Sometime during March 2012, Eike's son, Thor, was arrested after running over a cyclist while driving a McLaren SLR. The same year, investors began to grow weary and impatient with his group's performance. Batista had charmed many investors into believing in investing in complicated and expensive infrastructure, as well as other mining and oil projects. But in truth, the wells he had bought with billions of dollars weren't producing enough barrels. The construction projects were delayed, and expected returns turned into financial losses. The 2013 international oil crisis, as well as Brazil's economic slowdown, made things even more difficult, and things began to go down really fast, with the billionaire losing over $7 billion in a single day. As the production of his own company OGX declined, Batista began to sell off his assets to pay off the $5 billion of debt the company had amassed while expanding its oil operations and production operations. Eike Batista's net worth didn't just tumble, it evaporated, with his net worth dropping from $34 billion to a little over $1 billion in just 1 year. From the outside, it looked as if Eike Batista had built his company with courage and hard work, but really, it was built on lies. After an investigation into his empire, it was revealed in 2017 that Eike used his connections with officials to not only bribe them, but win himself and his company's public contracts. He was later arrested and sent to a prison cell with other common criminals with nothing but a squat toilet and cold water. Since he didn't complete his college education, he couldn't get the right to a special cell. Eike continues to tell the world that he's planning a comeback. After all, what's the saying that a Brazilian billionaire never stops dreaming? I don't know, maybe. But right now, Eike Batista is living a nightmare.